All right, so today we're going to be diving into wedding extras, like all those vendors and features that everyone debates over. You know, those decisions where you're like, is this worth it? Is it really worth blowing the budget, or should we just skip it? We're dissecting a blog post from a bridal shop owner who just planned her own wedding, and she's sharing all the things that she splurged on and what she decided to skip. I always find this kind of perspective super valuable, because it's coming from someone who's actually been through it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like firsthand experience,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to really help you cut through all the noise and all the wedding planning advice out there.
Exactly, like all the shoulds and shouldn'ts. So one thing that really jumped out at me in this post was her take on this whole wedding content creator trend. Like, is this really a new must-have for weddings? Are they replacing videographers? I have so many questions.
Yeah, it's definitely a hot topic. And I think what's really interesting about it is that a videographer and a content creator aren't really interchangeable. Videographers are there for those really classic, polished wedding videos.
Mm-hmm.
Think beautiful highlights set to music, maybe some drone footage. Well, the content creator is all about capturing those more raw behind-the-scenes moments that are perfect for social media.
Okay, so like, imagine those candid shots of everyone getting ready. Or, uh, like a sweet moment between the bride's parents.
Right.
Right before the ceremony, like things that the videographer might miss because they're focused on, the main events.
Exactly. It's more about capturing like the feeling of the day
Yeah.
and not just those picture-perfect moments. What I thought was really interesting about this blog post is she actually hired both, a videographer and a content creator,
Oh, wow.
which really kind of shows how much she valued both perspectives.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I know I'm someone who loves to look back on those candid moments just as much as, the more formal footage. And speaking of the content creator, this bride was absolutely blown away by how much her content creator was able to capture. We're talking hundreds of photos and videos. And get this, she got them the very next day.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that amazing? No waiting for weeks or even months to get those precious memories.
That is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Especially for couples who want to be able to share those moments immediately with, friends and family who couldn't be there.
Right. It's like you're reliving the day all over again. Almost instantly. Now, one thing she did mention was that she wasn't super thrilled with the kind of preset content creator packages that she was finding online. But instead of giving up on the idea, she got a little bit creative. She asked a friend who's a photography enthusiast if they would be willing to take on the role.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Right?
I mean, sometimes you don't have to stick to those traditional vendor options.
Yeah.
And, maybe that friend is the perfect fit for what you're looking for.
Totally. It's all about thinking outside the box, especially when it comes to your wedding budget. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about another hot topic, the day of coordinator. I feel like I see so much debate about this online, Some people are like, why do I even need a DOC if my venue already has a coordinator?
Yeah, that's a really common misconception. But there's actually a huge difference between the two. A venue coordinator is primarily looking out for the venue's interests, making sure everything runs smoothly from their perspective, while a DOC is dedicated solely to you as the couple, making sure that your vision for the day is executed flawlessly.
So basically, a venue coordinator is great at logistics and making sure the venue itself is taken care of. But a DOC is like your personal advocate, making sure that your wedding day runs smoothly from your perspective.
Exactly. They're handling everything from vendor coordination to managing the timeline, troubleshooting any issues that come up, and basically just giving you the peace of mind to be able to really relax and enjoy your day.
Gotcha. And in this bride's case, she actually had her bridesmaid pull double duty as the DOC. She said it was a lifesaver, even though I can only imagine how much her friend had to juggle that day.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But it really speaks to the importance of the DOC role and how having someone dedicated to you and your needs can make such a difference.
Totally. And, it brings up a really important question for couples. Like, what kind of experience do you want to have on your wedding day? Do you want to be stressing about all those little details and answering vendor questions? Or do you want to be fully present and actually enjoy the celebration with your loved ones?
Right. Because it's a once-in-a-lifetime moment.
For sure. And this bride also emphasized how much her DOC helped out in those weeks leading up to the wedding. Like everything from creating the timeline to organizing all the decor to even doing Pinterest research for inspiration. It sounds like having a personal wedding planning assistant.
Yeah, that's a huge benefit of having a DOC. They can really take a lot of that pre-wedding stress off your shoulders.
Totally. And ultimately, her advice was crystal clear. Hire a DOC. She said it was worth every penny for the peace of mind and knowing that everything would be taken care of.
It sounds like she found a real gem.
Definitely. Okay, moving on to something a little bit more fun. Let's talk about the audio guest book. I haven't actually seen one of these in person yet, but the idea of having guests leave like voice messages instead of writing in a traditional guest book, that's so cool.
I know, it's a really fun idea.
Yeah.
You know what I really like about them is that they can capture like the emotions and the personality of your guests in a way that you don't always get with, a written message.
Right.
It's like having this little time capsule of all those voices and well wishes.
I love that. And our bride said that hers ended up being over 30 minutes long, with everything from, heartfelt advice to what she called hilarious, unhinged ramblings as the night went on.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, right? It's capturing those raw, unfiltered moments of joy and laughter and maybe a few tipsy serenades.
Exactly, which you definitely wouldn't get in a traditional guest book. Okay, so speaking of things that might be considered a little old school, this bride also talked about having a photo booth at her wedding, which I thought was really interesting because, you know, sometimes you hear people say the photo booths are a bit outdated.
Yeah, but I think photo booths have really stood the test of time. They're just fun and interactive, and they provide guests with these tangible memories that they can take home with them.
And you know what? Her photo booth was a huge hit. People were lining up all night taking multiple photos and just having a
I
blast.
love that. It really shows that sometimes those classic wedding elements are classics for a reason.
Totally. It's like, why mess with a good thing? So, what I'm gathering from all of this is it's not about blindly following the latest trends. It's about choosing those extras that will enhance your specific vision for your wedding.
Absolutely. It's about creating the atmosphere you want and making sure that your wedding feels authentic to you as a couple.
Exactly. And that leads us perfectly into our next topic. Okay, so we've talked about some of the bigger ticket items, the vendors, the extras, but what about those smaller details that can really elevate the whole guest experience? Our bride had some really good tips on that front too.
Yeah, I think those smaller touches are often overlooked, but
Mm,
they can make such a big difference in how your guests feel throughout the day,
mm.
you know, even if they're not as flashy as like a photo booth or a drone videographer.
Totally. And one thing she raved about were the welcome bags she put together for her guests, especially since a lot of them were traveling from out of town.
Oh, that's such a nice touch,
Yeah,
especially for destination weddings or, when guests are making that extra effort to be there.
right. And she included local snacks and some fun wedding themed treats, and even a personalized itinerary for the whole weekend.
I love that it's both practical and festive,
Mm,
and it really helps guests feel welcome and appreciated.
for sure. Speaking of setting the tone, she also talked a lot about choosing a venue that truly reflects the couple's style. It's not just about finding a pretty space. It's about finding a space that tells your story.
Yeah, I totally agree. The venue sets the mood,
Hmm.
it influences the flow of events. It really contributes to that overall atmosphere.
Totally. And she and her husband ended up going with this historic manor
Yeah.
with beautiful gardens, which sounds absolutely dreamy, by the way.
Oh, I bet.
And she said it really complemented their elegant and romantic theme.
It's a great example of how the venue can really become like an integral part of the wedding narrative.
Yeah,
It's not just a place to hold the event. It's an extension of who you are as a couple.
I love that. Okay, let's talk about something that I think is always a top priority for guests: the food and drinks.
Oh, yeah. Gotta get those guests happy and fed.
Absolutely. And our bride and her husband, they worked really closely with their caterer to create a custom menu
Mm.
using locally sourced ingredients. And they even had signature cocktails that reflected their personal tastes.
Oh, I love that. It's all about those personal touches. It's what makes a wedding really special.
Yeah, and it makes your guests feel like you put that extra thought into their experience.
Exactly. And speaking of creating a great guest experience, don't forget about the seating chart.
Oh, yes. The dreaded seating chart.
It can be a little daunting, but it's so important.
Yeah, for sure. And she emphasized thinking about your guests' personalities and relationships when you're putting it together.
Yeah, you want to create that nice balance,
Yeah.
where people feel comfortable
Mm.
and they have the opportunity to mingle and connect with each other.
Right. It's like a giant puzzle.
It is.
Yeah.
But when you get it right, it can really make the reception so much more enjoyable for everyone.
And lastly, she talked about the importance of having a solid plan for the after party.
Oh, yes. The after party. That's where the real fun begins.
Well, for some people.
For those who still have the energy.
Right. And they actually rented out a nearby bar
Yeah.
and had a DJ spinning tunes until late, which sounds like the perfect way to cap off an amazing day.
Yeah. It's a great way to kind of keep the celebration going. in a more relaxed and intimate setting.
You know, it's interesting because all these details that she shared, they weren't about being like over the top or extravagant. It was really about creating a thoughtful and meaningful experience for everyone involved.
Exactly. It's those little moments, both big and small, that really add up to create a truly memorable wedding.
And I think that's something that can easily get lost in the whole like whirlwind of wedding planning.
Oh, for sure. It's easy to get caught up in the aesthetics and, all the details.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's about how you make people feel.
Totally. And something else she said that really stuck with me was how important it is to stay true to yourself throughout the whole process.
I love that because it's so easy to get caught up in trends or what you see on social media.
Right.
But it's your wedding. It should reflect you as a couple.
Exactly. And remember how she wasn't initially sold on hiring a content creator because of the cost?
Yeah. And, she wasn't even that active on social media.
But she found a creative solution by asking a friend to fill that role.
Exactly. Sometimes the best solutions come from thinking outside the box.
Totally. So if I had to sum up the core message of this deep dive, it would be personalize, personalize, personalize.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's about creating a wedding that feels authentic to you and your partner, not just like some cookie cutter event.
Exactly. It's your love story. Your wedding should reflect that.
So as you're going through your own planning process, just remember to focus on what truly matters to you.
And don't be afraid to break from tradition and ask for what you want.
Yeah, and there are so many resources out there to help you along the way. Wedding blogs, online articles, professional planners.
So don't hesitate to reach out for guidance and support.
Absolutely. And most importantly, have fun with it.
Yes. Enjoy the process.
It's such an exciting time,
It is.
and it should be a celebration of your love and a chance to create memories that will last a lifetime.
Which brings us perfectly to our final thoughts for this deep dive.
So, as we've been talking about all these elements and extras and everything, I keep coming back to how much joy her guests got from that photo booth.
Oh, yeah. It really is amazing how something so simple can still bring so much fun to a wedding.
It really just highlights that it's not always about having the most extravagant or like over-the-top extras. Sometimes it's those things that encourage your guests to just relax,
Well,
be silly and connect with each other.
right. Like it really comes down to understanding your guests
Yeah.
and what they would enjoy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And remember how she mentioned not being afraid to ask vendors about like custom options?
Oh, yeah.
That really resonated with me.
It is easy to fall into the trap of thinking you have to choose from those preset packages.
Totally.
But vendors are often more flexible than you might think.
Right, especially if you have a really clear vision of what you want. Like, why settle for something that doesn't quite fit when you could create something that's totally tailored to your needs and your style?
Exactly.
And maybe you don't even know what's possible until you ask.
Right. Like vendors often have amazing ideas that you might not have even considered.
Totally. So it never hurts to just have that conversation. Okay, so if I had to sum up the core message of this whole deep dive, it would be personalize, personalize, personalize.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's your day. It's your love story. Make it your own.
And to that point,
Yeah.
consider this question. What do you value most? How do you want to feel on your wedding day? And let those answers guide you as you're making all of those decisions.
I love that. So much wedding advice out there is all about, the shoulds and the shouldn'ts.
Right.
But ultimately, it's about creating a day that feels authentic to you as a couple.
Exactly.
And remember, there are so many resources out there to help you plan your dream wedding, so don't be afraid to do your research. Ask questions.
Yeah. And most importantly, have fun.
Yes. It's such an exciting time.
It is.
So enjoy the process. And don't forget to share your own wedding planning tips and stories in the comments. We love hearing from you. And your insights might even help out another couple who's planning their big day.
Exactly.
Until next time, happy planning, everyone!
And may your wedding day be filled with love, laughter, and memories that last a lifetime.